Good day. My name is Lori Salzman, and I am studying my master's in the Department of Psychology at Houston Christian University. Welcome to my narrated PowerPoint presentation on the key ideas from J.Van Epp's book, How to Avoid Falling in Love with a Jerk, for Dr. Cozart's premarital counseling and marital enrichment class. This book provides a practical guide to building healthy relationships. Introducing the relationship attachment model, it emphasizes balancing trust, knowledge, reliance, commitment, and touch to foster secure bonds and healthy relationships. Follow your heart without losing your mind. With a degree of humor, Van Epp refers to unsafe and unhealthy romantic life partners as jerks. Jerks are not gender specific. This is important to note. Both males and females can be jerks, and it takes more than one bad moment or a one-off moment of bad behavior to be labeled as a jerk. Jerks are defined instead by their patterns of behavior. Bad behavior shows up in many ways, but not respecting boundaries is one of the largest red flags. 3 important things to watch out for in boundary breakers in the early days of dating include the players. Players are those who are driven to seek attention and new excitement from a varied rotation of people. They struggle with fidelity. Space invaders are boundary breakers who feel entitled to all of your time, resources, and emotional support. Another diagnostic trait of a jerk is the absolute inability to put themselves in someone else's shoes, and they are often incapable of seeing anything from anyone else's point of view. This trait gets worse over time in the relationship, and these personalities often seek kind-hearted, forgiving, and empathic people. They tend to be easier to manipulate. Finally, a dangerous lack of self-control, healthy emotional expression, and balance is a sign that someone might be a jerk. They struggle to express feelings appropriately, and this impacts their ability to build a healthy relationship. This, too, gets worse over time in the relationship. Van Epp developed the Relationship Attachment Model, RAM. States, love has no clear definition, so Van Epp developed the Relationship Attachment Model. Relationships function on 5 fundamental dynamics relating to the depth at which you know, trust, can rely on, have a commitment to, and have sexual relations involvement with another person. Relationship bonds include concepts like trust, commitment, emotion, reliance, needs, love, affection, and intimacy. Comparing the floating scale of 5 dynamics to a sound system equalizer, Van Epp holds that these dynamics fluctuate up and down as relationships progress. The relationship attachment model table is made up of 5 sliding scales under the headings of know, trust, rely, commit, and touch. Let's look into these further. Know. It is important to gain knowledge about your potential partner's values, background, and behavior. It is imperative to understand their character through the lens of their past relationships, how they treat others, both people they are close to and people on the periphery, like waiters and salespeople, as well as their family dynamics. This helps us to make informed decisions before further investing into the relationship. Trust. We must cultivate trust by observing a partner's reliability and their integrity. We do this by learning if we can count on them to reliably show respect, their ability to keep their promises made, and by measuring our confidence in their consistency in varied life situations. Continuing, we have rely. Reliance refers to being able to depend on a partner to meet our needs and to further build on established trust. Reliance requires consistency and mutual support. This prevents unmet expectations, manipulation, and balances relationships. Commitment reflects making your partner a priority by intentionally making and keeping promises and actions. A healthy commitment dynamic ensures mutual dedication and aligns with trust, knowledge, and reliance. And finally, we have touch. This refers to physical intimacy, which includes both affection and spans to sexual relations, and stating this should only occur once commitment has been established. Notably, early sexual intimacy can create a false intimacy and safety, and this clouds our judgment. Once touch is established, there's no going back, and it changes the dynamic forever. Notably, sex while dating is not the same as it will be after marriage. It changes. Some items that are important to note. It takes 3 months to really get to know someone, as that is how long it takes for negative patterns to show up in relationships. Knowledge in getting to know our partners is gathered in 5 notable areas: relationship skills, family background, conscience traits, compatibility, and character. Couples who marry prior to dating 2 years have a higher rate of divorce. Compatibility does not simply refer to the ways in which you are like your partner. Rather, it includes the complementary nature in which our differences benefit both partners, as opposed to being a source of conflict or annoyance. And finally, it is important to understand our comparability with our partner's values, personality, and values. Things like our family values, religious traditions, finances, work habits, interests, leisure, and lifestyle activities, thinking style, humor, and emotional temperament will have an enormous impact on our relationship. On conscience and communication. One trait of jerks is a lack of conscience. Conscience is our ability to observe our own behavior and make judgments about what we are doing, thinking, saying, and feeling. If an individual lacks a functioning conscience, relationship skills can be easy to manipulate. In the 5-factor model of personality, conscientiousness, having a healthy conscience, is the most important factor in a spouse. Trust is the foundation from which all other expectations grow, particularly whether we can count on them to meet our emotional needs. Family patterns often repeat themselves. In other words, children learn what they live, so while there are no absolutes, children will often replicate their family dynamics, even if they don't want to. Good communication skills are imperative in building healthy relationships, and this includes a balance of good skills in both listening and talking. And finally, in conclusion, it is important to identify what Van Epp refers to as jerks. We identify jerks by observing behaviors that include boundary breaking, a lack of empathy, and poor emotional control. The relationship attachment model balances 5 fluctuating dynamics under the headings of know, trust, rely, commit, and touch, also referred to as intimacy. It is important to take at least 3 months to observe your partner's behavioral patterns. This is how long it takes for behavioral patterns to emerge in new relationships. Rushing intimacy clouds judgment, and this makes assessing a relationship much more difficult. So we should not rush into intimacy. It is important to evaluate your partner's family background, their values, and their communication skills, as all of these will impact your relationship. Working on ourselves and resolving our own personal issues helps us to make healthier choices. And finally, to avoid unhealthy relationships and partners, we must use both our minds and our hearts in tandem. Fostering healthy, lasting love requires discernment. Thank you for listening to my presentation.